Did you want to see just one last thing? It wasn't on the agenda. I don't know if you noticed on CA.gov, we recently have had out there what we call a card sort study. It's a free product that we utilize to do that. And I just created basically a blog post relating to that. If you just go to the blog there, there's a post I've got there that talks about the study that we did. We ran about a month on there. Talks about the product that we used, talks about how we implemented it, and some things that we learned in doing that. I can talk to you about it, or you just can go out and read it if you want. It's up to you. You want me to show you a little bit of that now, or no? Yeah. Card sort study is basically engaging your user community of your website to help you to understand maybe a better way to reorganize your website for their benefit and how they understand your content. So we utilize a product from conceptcodify.com because it was free, and it actually is pretty nice, and we were able to implement that product, run it for a month. This gives you a little idea right here, this picture of what it looks like. It provides you a card deck on the left-hand side, and then you establish groups that they can sort them into. So if you think about the groups, essentially are kind of like your highest level navigation of your website, but it wouldn't necessarily have to be that. The thought is to remove that thinking from the website implementation and just put it into how do people organize your content. And so the content was a card stack here of, I don't remember, close to 30 items. And then we had some groups that we pre-created out there. And we even allowed them to create their own group because the tool allowed us to do that. And then once they're done, they basically click Finish Sorting, and they're done. And so here is an example of what it looks like. I'll just open this in a new tab. This is the actual live study that is going on out there. It's still out on the web. And basically it gives them instructions of what they can do. You'll notice that it allows you to template it to look like just like CA.gov. So I was able to change the colors here and put a little logo on there. So it looks very official, doesn't it? And it just comes straight from CA.gov. You click on the link, it brings you to here. And then once you get started, it takes you into here. And then they're able to go into the card deck and basically say, I think traffic goes over here. I'll drag them there. And I think, the smog check stations also would go under driving, right? And there may be some others, filing taxes. Here would go under, taxes, I suppose. Things like that. And so basically you get the idea. They just drag the cards into the areas that make sense. If they wanted to, you can create your own group here and type in, my group, whatever you want to call it. That obviously wouldn't be one that'd be used on CA.gov, but essentially you get the idea. And then you create that group, and then you go on and you can drag cards into it. And once you're done, you just submit it to there. So getting back to the information about the study that we did, here is some of the back-end outputs of the reports. It gives you this thing that they call a hierarchical clustering analysis. Excuse me. And what you're seeing here is that they have clustered certain types of information. These are the users. We had 70 responses in about a month's time on CA.gov to do it. And so once you've gotten that many responses, that's usually enough to get a good general idea of how people think about your site. So you'll see there's some things that get highly clustered together. These things that are related to highway conditions and traffic are tightly clustered. They're a little bit more loosely clustered to find a DMV office and vehicle registration. And then at a much looser level, they're clustered with these other items over here. So it gives you those perceptions of people and how they clustered your information that you or your card sort out there. In addition, and I give a little bit of information that talks about clustering analysis and where you can find out more information about it. Concept Codify does provide a pretty good knowledge base where you can go out there and look at it and get some more information. Now, another report they have is called a similarity report, and they give you a percentage, and you can see that some of the items, based on what people did and how they clustered the information together, were highly related or highly similar, like find a school, loans, and scholarships. The people did. They put those things much higher together. and other things were on a less ability. For example, fish planning schedule and reserving a park was less likely to be put together into a group, into the same group. And there's actually a bunch of algorithms that apparently are underneath this that the company does. I couldn't explain to you how it all works. Again, you could look into more information there from the company. They also have an ordering analysis to view the study of your data. Now, one thing you'll notice in here, these are some of the bugs we kind of discovered with it, is that you see those Spanish names that have come out here in the list. I am just surmising that what happened is somebody went to the study and turned on automatic Google Translate, and that they then did the study based on that, and that's how I got this interjected into my results. Otherwise, I have no idea how it happened, because the cards are not named that. But these are exact Spanish translations of the cards, of some of the cards that I had in the card deck. So that, to me, is kind of a little bit of a bug in the thing. But anyway, just for your information, that came out. So you have this clustering analysis, and basically they give you a little explanation about the clustering analysis and what you can do with that. And it appears to be that the idea behind that is that you get a little bit of a ranking within the higher level hierarchical clustering of priority, I think, in there. You can read up there on yourself. It gets a little bit more complex. But the one that I think is probably the most meaningful for us is the groups and the higher amount of use of the different groups. This little report is nice. You can see they created some of their own groups down here, which, of course, doesn't have very many items in it. But of the groups that you create, and what it shows is in your study, the groups that you create are actually pretty important because people just tend to use them. And you'll see the ones that got highly used for cards and organizing the cards into compared to the ones that got less used. In addition, there's a few bugs I discovered in this, but before I get to that, this is what it looks like on CA.gov. Actually, I think yesterday it was still out on CA.gov. I had asked them to take it down, but I don't think they've gotten it down yet. But here's the way that we presented it. It was in the right-hand side, and it showed up on every page on CA.gov. Now, if you have a much higher volume traffic site than the CA.gov does, if you put a link out there on it, you may get a higher results than we did. But like I said, we got 70 respondents in a month's time, roughly, is the way it worked. Lessons learned. Participants, for the most part, will not create their own groups. They'll just use the ones you give. So really take some thought about the groups that you create, because it's just human nature. They're not going to change those. But they will put the cards in for you, of course. Create different group names for the same thing if your objective is to find out for the same similar things what better are the names for that. If you know what I'm saying? And we didn't really necessarily do that. In our groups, we had driving services or whatever. But for driving, for example, what would be another group that people might sort similar things related to driving into? If I really wanted to know what that was, I needed to create that myself. I could not expect somebody else to do it. If I had to do it over again, I would do more of that in our study. I would create more names for the same thing of a different nature to be able to get that input more effectively back from people. Does that make sense? That's a lesson learned in it. The other thing is also examine your Google search analytics and webmaster tools to understand the types of terms people are using mostly for these things that you're throwing into the study, rather than just using your own terms. That'll help you with a better starting point. Don't make your card deck too big. It'll discourage people from using it. Now, pardon me? About out of time? Okay. Okay. And there was only one other bug that I discovered in there, is don't put spaces in the names in your groups. Because what happened is I had Explore CA, and later on what happened is it divides CA out from the word Explore, and it created two different things, even though people were sorting them into one group. It's just a bug in the software that I was using, I believe. So anyway, that's it. Michael says we're out of time. You can go out there and read that on your own time that you have.
Okay, thank you, Richard. That brings us to the end of our WUG presentation. This is our email up here if you would like to get in touch with us. Otherwise, thanks for coming. See you next time.